Hey guys, it's People here. So I'm doing a quick video basically to just give a little bit back to the community, to all the players that are just joining the Isle. I love this game, love it to bits, but if any of you know, the default game is really dark, like exceptionally dark. Maybe that's an intentional mechanic, I don't know, but for me it just tended to ruin a lot of the experience because I literally just couldn't see things that I know I'm meant to see, but altering gamma and all of that didn't work. So here's what I want to show you. I want to show you how you can get this lush, bright, visible, colourful image in-game without really doing much or having to alter your TV settings or gamma settings or whatever. And not only that, you can turn them off at a press of a button. So here I am, I'm just going to start turning some of them off, and you can see kind of what the default game actually looks like. As you can see, it feels like it lacks colour, it certainly lacks light, and you know, it's not so bad in the daytime, but sometimes it is actually, you can't even see things that you kind of feel like you should be able to, but at night time it's awful, it's really bad. But then with a touch of a few buttons you can just very quickly change a few filters and things essentially. Now bear in mind, this technique, as far as I can tell, it does not break any rules, but you know, that's at the time at which I'm making this video. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't. But do check with whatever server you're on that you're not actually, you know, breaking the terms of the server, because I don't want to be encouraging people to be, you know, breaking the rules of whatever servers they're playing. So do check that before you start. Okay, so first thing you want to do is find the program that we're going to use, which is known as Reshade. Reshade is a free-to-use program, and it's used to sort of increase the quality and sort of the after effects that you can actually apply to games. It does use additional post-processing, which means that it's going to use a bit more graphics power, CPU power to run Reshade. From my experience, it does make your base game drop by about 10% of its frame rate. So if you're playing the Isle and you're just about getting 60 frames a second, then actually playing with Reshade is probably going to lower that to about 55. That's from my experience. It might not be the case for you, so I would play around with it. The other things you can do is, if you find that Reshade is too demanding, you can always try lowering the in-game graphics settings to try and compensate and maintain that 60 frames per second that you're after. The other things you can do is, if you're playing on a very high resolution screen, you can always try and reduce the scale resolution percentage within the Isle, which is a great mechanic, and I actually have mine reduced to 65% because I play on a 4K monitor, but I play the game in 2K resolution, and I don't need all my pixels, so I actually lower that, and it reduces the demand and allows me to play the game with Reshade at over 60 frames a second. So anyway, with that aside, you go onto the main website, you click the download button, and here it's version 3.4.1, which is August 11th, 2018. I've been using this for many versions, and basically all the versions pretty much do the same thing, with just slightly different adjustments and improvements. So once you've downloaded it, you open Reshade. Now you might have to do this on admin with administration rights. I don't, and it seems to work for me, but you may have to. And then it's going to prompt you with this window. It's asking me to select a game. So I'm going to hit select game, and I'm going to go into the Isle folder. What you want to do is find where you've installed the Isle, which for me is in my games hard drive, and it's within my Steam oh no, it's not. It's within my games Steam library, Steam apps, common, and then the Isle. Now this is the first mistake that a lot of people will make with this. I've learnt this myself, by the way. I've just kind of used Reshade on other games in the past, and I've tried to make it work with the Isle, and the first thing I did wrong was apply the program to the wrong exe file. So don't apply it to this. What you want to do is you want to go into the Isle folder, you want to go into binaries, you then want to hit Windows 64. When you do that, you'll see there is another exe called the Isle 64-bit shipping.exe, and this is the one that we want to apply the Reshade program to. So once you've selected it, hit open, and it's gonna say select rendering API. Now I use Direct3D 10 Plus. Now that actually is, I believe, to be the most appropriate for the Isle. However, I believe it would also work with 3D9. I don't know, I've not tried it myself, just simply because it worked with 10 Plus, and I believe 10 Plus to be the better API. I've not tried it with OpenGL either. So once you've got that, make sure to click on this again. I know it's already selected for me, but just click it one more time. I now click DirectX 3D. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. Do you want to download a collection of standard effects? And I just hit yes to this. And now what this does is it's downloading a list of possible filters and effects that it can apply to that game. And it's selected a few. Now, I don't know if it's pre-selected these because this is what I already had installed on it when I first selected mine. It might not have selected them for you, so do pay attention to this bit because this bit's really important. So those different buttons I pressed to change the different filters, well, we're kind of, this is where you select what filters you want to have in the game. So I've picked out 5 that I think are really useful. Adaptive fog is the first one. The second 2 are next to each other, color matrix and colorfulness. Eye adaptation, I use that one as well. And then the very last one is right at the bottom basically, it's Technicolor 2. So I tick all of those and uncheck everything else. And then you hit OK once you've got those 5 selected. And then it should just say at the top on this bar, succeeded. Well, hey, it's as easy as that. So I wouldn't be too excited about edit reshade settings. You don't really have to change any of this. I don't really use it. I don't really know quite what it's for. I think it's in order to create presets so that you can have different filters for the same game by saving like presets, so you can just load which set of filters you'd like when you first launch the game. You can basically change those quite quickly, but I don't use that, so I'm just going to hit cancel. And you can actually close this now because it's actually installed, so it's actually applied to the game. So what you do is when you next log in to the game, so I'm going to just go to my library. I'm going to hit play on the Isle. Now this is the bit where you should actually see, and ignore my OBS here, you should see this top grey bar up here. Can you see that? And it says Reshade. If you don't have that, there is a good chance that it's not been applied. So you should see this grey bar now, and it will disappear. It's simply saying that Reshade has loaded as the game is loaded. Now if it doesn't do that, you've not installed to the correct, either you've not installed to the correct exe file, so you've maybe gone for the isle.exe instead of what you should do, which is the Isle shipping, which you can find in your Windows 64 subdirectory. The other potential thing that you may have done wrong, or that might be conflicting, is sometimes if you have in-screen overlays, in-game overlays, so Steam, maybe even Discord, some of those things can possibly interfere with Reshade actually working. So it might be worth just going into Steam and going to Steam settings and disable in-game overlay, try it again, see if it loads, doing the same thing with say Discord, and see if it loads with the Isle when you launch it. If it doesn't, then it's probably that you've installed it to the wrong location. But anyway, so now that we're in, now to access the Reshade options, it's really easy. You just, I think the default setting is Shift and F2, so I'm going to hold Shift and F2, and it brings up this wonderful menu here. Let's get into a game so that we can sort of see what it does. Okay, so this is actually perfect because it looks like it's about to head into nighttime, and I can sort of demonstrate the effects that this has. So if you hold Shift and F2, you will probably get a menu that looks a bit like this. Now these may all be unticked. What this is these are the 5 filters that we pre-selected when we installed Reshade onto the game. Now these will probably be blank for you. Now what I do is I literally just click here and press numpad 1, and then I do the same for 2, for 3, for 4, for 5. And that is just simply toggle keys to activate these filters. So as you watch now, as I press number 1 on my number pad, you will see adaptive fog turn on and off. There we go. So this is a filter that I use sometimes in forests, because I find that it really does limit your vision to quite close to you. So it kind of just gets rid of all those distant trees in a forest, which kind of mean nothing, and they don't really help you see what's close to you. And on top of that, it kind of increases your graphics demand if you have all those trees rendering at the same time, whereas sometimes using the fog helps. I don't use it that much, to be honest, very rarely actually. Colour matrix kind of provides a little bit of an altered colour sort of palette, I guess you could say, onto the game. The reason why I use this colour matrix is because the last 3 filters can sometimes skew the colours a bit, and the colour matrix kind of brings them back into a more realistic picture. So colourfulness, adaptation and Technicolor, I'm going to show you now what they look like. So you can see that number 3, colourfulness, just kind of brings out the colour there, really bright, really helps the reds pop, the orange. You'll see in some of my other videos, sometimes the sky looks almost radioactive, it's quite orange, but I love that. I love the colourfulness. And then the adaptation really lifts up the light levels. So if you see, when I've got that on and off, I don't always have it on. It depends what mood I'm in and how much light there is. And for example, looking now, I really struggle to make out some of these areas and up here. But by toggling the eye adaptation, I can really make out that there is a tree there. There's nothing between those 2 stumps. And up here as well, I can see there's nothing. So in the night time in particular, I'll usually have this on. And then the final one is Technicolor. So Technicolor just brings that lightness, that light level even higher, and on top of that adds a bit of contrast. So look how much the colours pop. Everything seems to pop. Colour matrix kind of, whoa, well, it kind of makes everything look a bit sick. But so I don't usually use colour matrix, but sometimes, say I've got a couple of these on, I'll find that the colour matrix does actually, it's not actually helping in this situation, but there are some times when it does. So I do still have it as an option there, but usually I run with these 3, colourfulness, eye adaptation and Technicolor, and it's as easy as that. So to get rid of the menu, you hold shift and F2 and that's it. Next time you start the game, it will be already loaded like this, so you won't have to do any, you don't have to reinstall Reshade, you don't have to do that every time. It's as simple as that. You just install it once, and then every time you log into the game, you'll see it load at the top. There'll be that little bar right at the top that shows Reshade is loaded when the game's loaded, and once you're in game, you can just start toggling like this until you decide what you want. So just looking at what the game would look like, let me just check if I've got it. So this is what it looks like at night time. Now this is why I'd probably check on your server, because some servers I reckon won't be happy with people using Reshade. I mean, I've kind of used it because I think it improves my gaming experience, and also for the people watching any of my videos, you know, this doesn't really help that much for the viewers. I don't find, and also I want to be able to see. I like the colours, and doesn't the game look so much better like this? It's still not easy to see like this. I think this visibility isn't the best still, but the colours and everything, it just seems more realistic. I suppose this is quite realistic, but I mean, no one wants to be looking at blackness, do they? So yeah, anyway, that's Reshade. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's helped. I am making a series right now, actually doing a Carnotaurus journey. So every episode kind of is following on from the episode before. If you want to check those out, then feel free to sort of check out the other videos on my page. But anyway, I hope this has helped. This game is so great. It deserves a lot more love and attention than it's getting. I think it's got great potential. I'm hoping that Dondi continues to develop and improve the game, and I feel like this Reshade technique is hopefully going to allow the players that really love the game, really enjoy the game, to get as much out of the game as they can without being sort of held back by what I consider to be some of the limitations. Yeah, anyway, I'm not going to blabber on anymore. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Peace.
Took me by surprise. I did not see